What's up, guys? This is Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to give you guys a very quick update about Tesla in the markets. Just know that I am not a financial planner. So Tesla hit 440, but we weren't able to hold above this. I mentioned that as we retest 435, which is what happened later on, if we don't hold above it, we're looking for a dip to fill that gap. And that's exactly what Tesla ended up doing. Now, why did Tesla dip the way it did? We had Jerome Powell giving a speech. He's basically not as certain as before or as he seemed during FOMC about cutting rates. Yes, the Fed is planning on cutting rates for the rest of the year for October and for December during the next two FOMC meetings, but we're not as confident because it depends on the data, right? Jerome Powell is addressing the ongoing debate about whether or not they should be cutting or keeping rates as is, because you have people like Bowman. She is saying that once again, the Fed is behind the curve. She's taking that stance. Then you have Bostic from the Fed who's saying that, wait a second, inflation is going to likely see another big surge, and it does not make sense for the Fed to cut. So different people have different views. Jerome Powell addressed that. He said that in order for the Fed to continue to cut more, we need to see and make sure that inflation does not start to go up again. We don't want to see inflation go up for September, October, and November. We want to see inflation basically spike and then start to dip. Once it starts falling for when we get the September and October numbers, then it's going to be a better sign that they are going to continue to cut. So they're taking it on a meeting over meeting basis. They're going to wait and see what the data tells us, but they have to be very careful because they don't want to be cutting too prematurely. They also don't want to cut too aggressively. They have to be very careful. That's what Jerome Powell is saying, and that's important news. The market was very confident in pricing in at two cuts, and so far Jerome Powell is telling us that yes, maybe it's going to happen, but it's not 100% guaranteed because it depends on the data. And that's the most important thing to remember. That's part of why the market dipped the way it did. So Tesla has support at 425. We bounced off this. We could be looking for an attempt for 430 again. We're still technically in this channel, and I do think that because the market dipped so hard, we're just trying to bounce a little bit. Tesla could get back up to 430 after filling that gap. For SPY, we are currently trying to hold above 662. If we close below 662, it's a bad sign, but if we could hold near 662.93 into close, we could see a bounce tomorrow to 665 again. So I want to see it hold support. On the QQQ, we came back down towards our 20 EMA. If we lose 596.9, we're bearish. If we hold this, we could be looking for a bounce to about 600 again. So as long as we hold 596.9, we could be looking for a bounce, and it could try to bounce a little bit. As long as we don't end up losing 242.9 on the IWM, we could try to bounce back up to 245. On ES, we're going to likely try to retest 67.19. So watch and see if it rejects or not. On NQ, as long as we don't lose 24,800, we could also try to bounce for 24,900. So watch that very closely. On Bitcoin, we're trying to hold support right here. As long as we don't lose 111,500, we could be looking for a move back up towards 112,500. So as long as we hold support, we're going to be fine. On Nvda, we have support right over here around this 178 area. We need to hold this on Nvidia to bounce back up towards 182. If we lose 178, we're looking for 176, then we could be retesting this gap fill area if that fails us. So we got to bounce right here on Nvidia. Aapl is barely at 254. I want to see us hold 252.5 and bounce. If we lose 252.5, we're going to be looking for a dip back down towards 250. There's going to be more downside coming, so we got to hold near where we are. AMD is holding up nicely. Could be looking for 162 quite soon. And then Palantir is holding up well. As long as 177 does not break, we're looking for 185 all over again. Coinbase is looking kind of weak here. If we can't get back above 321, I do see a risk of us returning to like 315. Amazon has support at 220. We got to hold this, or else we're going to be at risk of dipping to 218. Hopefully, 220 holds us. Meta could be dipping back down towards 750. We're going to see if we bounce. Google has support at 252, and we need to bounce off here to push back up to 254. And Microsoft also has to hold above 510 to push back up. We're going to see if that happens or not. The VIX is also pushing higher. We're going to see if this continues to uptrend, which would be a bearish signal for stocks. But we'll see if the VIX gets a rejection. For now, SPY and the QQQ could try to bounce, and Tesla's also trying to get back up to 430. So keep that in mind. Thank you all for listening. I'll give you guys another update in a couple of hours. Until then, I wish you all nothing but the best, and peace out.